Hello everybody, I am Dr. Archana Kaushik. I am Associate Professor at the Department of Social Work, University of Delhi. The topic of today's discussion is elder abuse, manifestation and prevention. One of the most important measure of how civilized we are is how we treat the senior citizens in our society. Aging is a process which occurs naturally in the human life cycle. It is the decline in the capacity of the functioning of the organs of human body. However, they constitute a reservoir of human resource gifted with knowledge, deep insights and varied experiences. The population of the aged has been increasing over the years. Their rights are being encroached upon each day and protection of them comes naturally to balance the human rights scale. They are the most vulnerable class of our society. Many elders are too afraid to speak up about the missing medication or the yelling or the unexplained bank withdrawals. It's hard to come to terms with the fact that a close relative or loved one is actually a conniving bully instead of a dutiful caregiver. Countless elders face inadequate support for their well-being and do not know where to turn for help. Recognizing the warning signs of elder abuse can help determine if your loved one is being neglected or disrespected. Every day, parents, families and healthcare professionals face ethical and legal decisions concerning medical treatments, practices, hospital management and other matters that arise in the healthcare industry. Obtaining knowledge in the field of healthcare and its management can enable you to become aware of the legal and ethical healthcare issues that you may face. Ethical standards promote the values that are essential to good communication such as trust, accountability, mutual respect and fair medical care. The healthcare sector is governed by sets of rules, regulations, laws and ethical standards. In addition, they also set out the responsibilities of healthcare professionals. There are many benefits to working with the elderly. Caring for the elderly enables them to not worry about the things they cannot do anymore or celebrate the things that they can. Not only supporting them in their care needs but also providing them with a valued friend and confidence.
दो लड़के आए थे, कह रहे चल दवाई दिलवा तेरे को। 4 महीने हो गए मेरे को, 4 पैरे रह गए। जबरदस्ती मतलब लड़ाई झगड़ा करते, थ्रेटन करते थे कि मारेंगे, ऐसे नाक तोड़ देंगे, मुंह तोड़ देंगे, ये कर देंगे, वो कर देंगे। जबरदस्ती उठा के गाड़ी में डाल के ले आके छोड़ दी।
मेरा भतीजा है ना, उसने 10 साल से मुझे कमरे में बंद रखा है।
शुरू में तो मेरे को लगता था मैं यहाँ नहीं रह पाऊँगी, बहुत रोती थी, लेकिन धीरे धीरे फिर थोड़ा दिल को तसल्ली देनी पड़ी है।
कुछ ऐसी फैमिलीज़ हैं ना, अगर उनके पेरेंट्स के यहाँ डेथ भी हो जाए ना तो वो नहीं आते हैं।
Nearly 40% of the elderly men and women in India strive hard to keep their body and soul together. What do you understand by elder abuse and neglect? Elder abuse can be defined as a single or repeated act or lack of appropriate action occurring within any relationship where there is an expectation of trust which causes harm or distress to an older person. There are different types of elder abuse. Physical abuse can be detected by visible signs on the body including bruises, scars, sprains or broken bones. More subtle indications of physical abuse include signs of restraint such as rope marks on the wrist or broken eyeglasses. Psychological or emotional abuse often accompanies the other types of abuse and can be usually detected by the changes in the person's personality or behavior. The elder may also exhibit behavior mimicking dementia, such as rocking or mumbling. Emotional abuse is the most underreported abuse of elder abuse. Elder abuse occurs when a person fails to treat an elder with respect and includes verbal abuse. The elder experiences social isolation or lack of acknowledgement of this type of abuse. Some indicators of the emotional abuse effects of elder abuse is the elder being unresponsive or uncommunicative. Also, they are unreasonably suspicious or fearful, more isolated and not wanting to be social as they may have been before. Emotional abuse is underreported but can have the most damaging effects because it leads to more physical and mental health problems. Financial abuse is more subtle form of abuse in comparison to other types and may be more challenging to notice. Signs of financial exploitation include significant withdrawal from accounts, belongings or money missing from the home, unpaid bills and unnecessary goods or services. Sexual abuse, like physical abuse, can be detected by visible signs on the body, especially around the breasts or genital area. Other signs include covert infections, bleeding and torn underclothing. Neglect is the refusal or failure to fulfill a caretaking obligation, including or excluding a conscious and unintentional attempt to inflict physical or emotional distress on the older person. Abandonment is leaving the elderly alone or no longer providing care. There are other elderly issues as well, such as negligence. It is the failure to exercise adequate care. Malpractice. It is the negligence on the part of professional person in providing care to another person. Omission. It occurs when something is omitted that is ordered or expected as a normal part of treatment for a client. The rights of the elderly are abused when the family does not give them adequate care and attention. Intentional torts. These are the acts by a nurse performed with the intent to bring about specific result. Assault is the attempt or threat to injure another person. Battery is unwanted or unconsented physical contact. Defamation is written or spoken communication that holds a person up to ridicule or scorn and tend to harm his or her reputation. Invasion of privacy. Violation of a person's right to be left alone or to enjoy reasonable non-interference with his or her life. Let us talk about restraints. There are two types of restraints. Physical restraint should be used only when the patient is a danger for himself or others and when all other behavior management have been exhausted. It creates an obligation for the professional to attend carefully to the negative consequences of restraints and preventing them. Chemical restraints are by giving psychoactive pharmacological agents. It is prescribed with caution and only when for the clear benefit of the patient. Certain signs of elder abuse are broken bones or fractures, poor physical appearance, changes in mental state, frequent infections, bruising, swelling or cuts, unexplained weight loss, refusal to speak, signs of dehydration, lack of cleanliness. Health consequences of elder abuse are serious. Elder abuse can destroy an elderly person's quality of life in the forms of declining functional abilities, increased dependence, sense of helplessness and stress, worsening psychological decline, premature mortality and morbidity, depression and dementia, malnutrition, bed sores and even death. The risk of death for elder abuse victims is 3 times higher than non-victims. An abuser can be a spouse, partner, relative, friend, neighbor, voluntary worker, paid worker, practitioner, solicitor or any other individual with the intent to deprive a vulnerable person of their resources. Relatives include adult children and their spouses or partners, their offspring and other extended family members. Children and living relatives who have a history of substance abuse or have had other life troubles are of particular concern. Let us see the factors influencing elder abuse. Research studies have shown that elderly women are abused more as they face domestic violence in their younger years too. Largely, they are dependent, illiterate and lack skills to independently earn a livelihood. Elderly who are mentally ill more frequently face abuse. Sick and bedridden elderly are more prone to abuse. Those aged people who require help in their daily living such as getting up and sitting, walking, etc. Irrespective of age, older people face abuse, though type of abuse may differ. There are independent factors also. It is shown that illiteracy or educational status, socio-economic status, rural-urban locale, financial dependence or independence of the elderly do not influence chances of their abuse. It means that educated and illiterate elderly both are abused. Studies show that rural elderly as well as urban aged people face abuse. Let's look at the perpetrator's profile. Caregivers involved in alcoholism and drug addiction abuse their elderly more frequently. Caregivers who are mentally disturbed, stressed, and those having mental illness victimize their elderly more. Those having poor coping strategies target their weak older relatives through mistreatment. Those caregivers who have seen their parents abusing their grandparents tend to abuse their elderly more. Also, children who are abused by their parents may take revenge when their parents become old. There is a negative stereotyping against older people in the world as also in India. They are considered weak, unproductive and frail. This aggravates elder abuse. Poverty and living in places where the elderly are not able to connect with the community and inadequate or lack of social support, for example, housing, civil amenities, workplace, respite centers, etc. also add to the chances of elder abuse. Let's discuss the barriers in obtaining statistics on elder abuse. Several conditions make it hard for researchers to obtain accurate statistics on elder abuse. Researchers may have difficulty in obtaining accurate elder abuse statistics for the following reasons. Elder abuse is largely hidden problem and tends to be committed in the privacy of elderly person's home, mostly by his or her family members. Elder abuse victims are often unwilling to report their abuse for fears of others' disbelief, fear of loss of independence, fear of being institutionalized, fear of losing their only social support, especially if the perpetrator is a relative, and fear of being subject to future retaliation by the perpetrators. Elder abuse victims' cognitive decline and ill health may prevent them from reporting their abuse. Lack of proper training of service providers such as social workers, law enforcement officials, nurses, etc. about elder abuse. Therefore, the number of cases reported tend to be low. The subjective nature of elder abuse, which largely depends on one's interpretation, is also a reason. Another reason why there is a lack of accurate statistics on the debate of whether to include self neglect or not. Many are unsure if it should be included since it does not involve another person as an abuser. Those opposed to the inclusion of self neglect make the claim that it is a different form of abuse and thus should not be included in the statistics. Due to this discrepancy and other mentioned above, it is difficult to get accurate data concerning the abuse of the elderly. There is a case study. Munni Devi, 68 years, is a widow living in the city of Bareilly with her son, daughter-in-law and 2 grandchildren. She lives in the Barsati, outside the one-room flat which her son has occupied on rent basis. Munni Devi gets 18 kgs of wheat every month from a nearby ration shop under the scheme Annapurna. However, her son sells off the grains to meet his held up expenses. Quite often, the elderly lady sleeps with empty stomach, tying a dupatta tightly around her waist so as to suppress hunger pangs. She does not have the courage even to question her son. She often has nightmares that her family has thrown her on the street and she has nowhere to go. Dr. Singh, 70 years, is a qualified medico trained in homeopathic medicine. He superannuated from government service about 10 years back. He has been living in South Delhi in an apartment owned by him and his only son, daughter-in-law and 2 grandchildren. His wife died 2 years back. Now he waits endlessly for the meals to be served. He is an early riser and goes to bed early. At times he has to eat whatever is available. The timings of the meals and the items prepared do not suit his age and taste. If at all he complains, it creates an unpleasant situation in the house and nothing improves. His opinions have no value, and if he shares his ideas, he is told to mind his own business. In different ways, he is continuously neglected. Let us see how we can manage elder abuse. Some of the points are: discuss concerns related to suspected abuse or neglect. Include in the treatment plan and enlist their active support and participation. Involve professionals from other disciplines to assist in the evaluation. Continued contact with the trusted family physician. Significantly enhance the intervention process. Let us now discuss the prevention aspects of elder abuse. Elder abuse, like other forms of violence, is never an acceptable response to any problem or situation, however stressful. Effective interventions can prevent or stop elder abuse, some of which may be suggested as below. Doctors, nurses and other medical practitioners can play a vital role in assisting elder abuse victims. Through education and training on elder abuse, healthcare professionals can better assist victims of elder abuse. Educating and training those in criminal justice system such as police, prosecutors and the judiciary on elder abuse, as well as increased legislation to protect elders, will also help to minimize elder abuse. Increased legislation to protect elders and will also provide improved assistance to victims of elder abuse. Community involvement in responding to elder abuse can contribute to elderly persons' safety. Communities can develop programs that are structured around meeting the needs of elderly persons. Counseling services play a critical role in prevention and curbing of elder abuse. To caregivers, it aims at resolving or mediating conflicts and address tension and stress and burnouts that give rise to abuse. Counseling for victims or vulnerable adults can help them assess their options, plan for their safety, resolve conflicts and overcome trauma. Support services such as support groups or networks of caregivers, service networks, etc., aid in reducing caregiving burden by lessening older persons' dependence and isolation. It provides relief to caregivers. These support services can be for the aged persons or for caregivers. Respite care is one such support service, especially important for caregivers of patients suffering from chronic ailments. It provides caregivers much needed time to be free from the worry and responsibility of looking after their elderly relatives and rejuvenate and relax. Isolation of elders increases the probability of abuse, and it may even be a sign that abuse is occurring. So, systems should be created to increase social contact by means of attending daycare centers, recreational centers, having elders clubs, hobby clubs, etc. More research work should be carried out in this field that is critical in designing effective interventions and services. Concerned citizens can play a vital role in preventing abuse by reporting cases, helping to raise awareness about the problem, volunteering at agencies and advocating for needed services and policy. Free legal aid should be provided to elders. The laws like Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007 work like a deterrent and also an enabling law for those in need of such help. There should be nationwide programs in schools for sensitizing the children towards aging and aged. Elder abuse has its roots in the culture of any society. Certain long-term steps should be taken to develop atmosphere that is free of ageism. For this, print and electronic media should be sensitized to highlight urgent concerns of older persons on a regular basis. A sound social security system to ensure income security to older persons is required. There should be opportunities for income earning and income generation so that dependence is reduced. The national policy on older persons maintains that programs will be developed to promote family values, sensitize the young on intergenerational bonding and security and safety of older persons. The policy expresses tackling the issue of elder abuse within the parameters of family would be a socially rewarding exercise, as it would be culturally appropriate and most enduring solution. It would be better than legal and punitive measures that should be reserved only as the last resort. Certain interventions aimed at curbing elder abuse may be looked into. These are old age homes, old age pension, daycare centers. NGOs like HelpAge India have campaigns I Say No to Elder Abuse, Student Action for Value Education, Elder Helplines, Police the Friendly Vigil on Elders, Senior Citizen Associations, Celebrating Grandparents Day, Free Legal Aid Services, Speedy Disposal of Cases. Let's now talk about the code of conduct for a caregiver. Every professional service or job has a code of conduct. Such a code is important to ensure that all those who are part of service industry follow certain rules and regulations for both the service providers and the receiver to maintain a good working relationship. A code of conduct helps in ensuring that patients are treated with dignity, respect and compassion all the time. The purpose of this code is to give the public and the people who use the health and social care services the confidence that these support workers will provide safe and compassionate care of the highest standards. The code of conduct is based on the principle of protecting the public by promoting best practices. It ensures that each caregiver maintains the highest standards of professionalism by providing best quality and compassionate healthcare service and support. Each caregiver is responsible to care and ensure that as a conduct you will not fall below the standards mentioned in the code. A caregiver should ensure the safety and well-being of the care receiver. Be accountable and responsible for your actions. Ensure and maintain the privacy, dignity, rights, health and well-being of the people who use caregiving services. Work in collaboration with all your colleagues and team members. Communicate clearly, simple language for the safety and well-being of people. Respect the person's right to confidentiality. Improve the quality of elderly care. Give the care to the clients without considering the caste, status and religion. Give care by including the patient in deciding the care plan. What are the common guidelines for good work outcomes? And these are: you should be courteous to all, you should greet your seniors, co-workers, your patients etc. You should address the seniors with proper title, excuse yourself when overtaking a senior person, maintain silence wherever and whenever, create a friendly environment, maintain your personal hygiene, obey seniors without arguing, say thank you when someone is doing any favor to you, be punctual always, keep eye contact or sit face to face when listening to someone, say excuse me even if you hurt others accidentally, knock at the door and wait for the answer before you enter into others' room, excuse yourself before you interfere with someone engaged in talking or doing some work, attend the classes on regular basis, keep your environment clean, is service oriented, have sympathy towards the patients. With this, we come to an end of this session. Thank you.